Good evening and bienvenue, my fond, fair friends, family, and subscribers. This is your humble narrator, Diomedes Rouge, here to bring you part 0 of What If a Monster Hunter was brought to the world of Ruby. Why, yes. Now, the way we're going to begin this story is by giving said hunter, the guy you see before you, a name. Yes, indeed, a name. And what name shall I give said guy? Oh, Ignatius. Ignatius Reinhardt. But his friends just call him Igny. Yep, Igny. Some people gave him the name Hothead. Or, well, Boom. Why? Simple. Usually no matter where he ends up or whatever monster he hunts, Igny has a habit of, well, making things go boom. Whether it's intentional or not. You could say he's a bit explosive when it comes to his personality. Now, he does try and keep calm, he does try to relax, and he is relatively easygoing, as you will soon find out. However, when he's in the middle of a hunt, it's like a switch gets kicked on in his brain. A certain thing gets, instinct, that's the word, instinct gets brought out of him. He goes from being this subtle, nice, kind-hearted, ever-caring individual to being a battle-hardened warlord that wants nothing more than to bring death and or destruction to anything that he is currently, well, hunting. However, he does follow the laws of the hunt. And yes, if you don't know, in the lore of Monster Hunter, there are laws of the hunt. 1. You do not hunt to exterminate. You hunt to cull the monsters that are causing problems. For instance, if a Rothian and a Rathalos are flying through the sky, if you know them, then if anyone knows them, about them, good. If you don't, brief summary, Rothian and Rathalos are the two names of a species of wyvern. Think something similar to a dragon, except instead of 4 arms, they have 2 legs, and they use their front arms as to hold up to grow their wings and fly around. If a couple of them are just doing their own thing, hunting animals and not causing trouble, there's no reason to hunt them. No quest will be put out, and nothing will be done. There is no need as long as those beings mind their own business. However, say something like a Deviljho, a brute wyvern, known for its intense hunger and, well, just that, hunger, that likes to wander around from area to area, destroying environments and ecosystems, were to perhaps disrupt an ecosystem that a group of hunters were in, well, that Deviljho won't be around for a long time unless it's very particularly tough. Which usually some of them are, but at the same point in time, you understand the gist of the situation. Now, law number 2. You do not turn your weapon onto a fellow hunter without cause. What that means: you don't attack each other or, well, your comrades or people you would call your comrades. Even if you don't like the son of a bitch that's right next to you, at least you know not to hit him in the face with the sharp edge of your pointy stick. With the sharp end of your pointy stick, unless you're just wanting to get excommunicated and locked up. Now, if said sumbitch tries to jab you with the end of his pointy stick, well then, you are within more than enough cause to defend yourself from said, well, pointy stick. And believe me, with the weaponry in Monster Hunter, there's a lot of pointy sticks. And these pointy sticks are very, very dangerous. Oh, I've been waiting for this one. So, the last and final law is, well, quite simple. Respect nature and don't befoul its presence. What that means is you work in harmony with the land. You don't try and overburden it with your own presence. You don't try and conquer it and overwhelm it. You make your houses attached with the trees. You use the resources that are naturally available without having to dig too far underground to try and mine giant veins, unless it's completely necessary or it's already open. Monster hunters are people that hold the balance. And that is what Ignatius's, and that's what Ignatius's dad taught him. Now, who was his dad? Well, for those of you who played Monster Hunter Tri, you would know of a place called Monga Village. An island faring place that, well, had a lot of, well, space and was surrounded by monsters. Tiny, relatively large island, but the central zone of it where people gathered up and lived on was relatively small in comparison to it. That was until a guild sent a brand new hunter there. This young upstart quickly rose through the ranks, driving off every creature that would threaten the village. Everything from Jaggy, which, if those of you who don't know, think velociraptors, to the Great Jaggy, which is a bigger version of a velociraptor. Yes, the Jagrus is a pale comparison to that one. It was a lot more fun to fight. Oh well. To, well, Legiagarus Yankut, the Legiagarus, which was a Leviathan that, well, shot high pressurized water and electricity. Very fun fight. To a Deviljho that came to the island to try and, well, devour. He even wound up taking on elder dragons. One of which being, well, none other than the great Sadius, a behemoth of a sea-dwelling monster that, well, was about as big as the entire island itself under the water. And what I mean by that, the island was spanned for miles. This creature also spanned for miles. And this lone hunter was able to drive it off by breaking its horn While underwater, in the creature's own element, it drove it off. He got quite the recognition for that. And then the guild eventually wanted to call him back. But he grew accustomed to the village. He liked it. He enjoyed it, as well as the receptionist. So he stayed. He eventually married the receptionist and had, well, a pair of twins. Ignatius Reinhardt and Liliane Reinhardt. Now, sorry about that, one moment. My apologies, shouldn't happen again. Now, so, Ignatius Reinhardt and Liliane Reinhardt. Twins, a boy and a girl. As they grew up, well, each of them learned different techniques from their father. Both of them figuring that hunting was, well, fantastic. The other members of the village saw them as, well, the children of the great hunter. Children who would be revered and acknowledged. Meanwhile, Ignatius and Liliane had different ways of doing things, as you could probably understand. For instance, Ignatius, he was more upfront, brutal when it came to things. He didn't like stepping around obstacles. He liked plowing through them. He preferred heavy defense and heavy offense. And if a weapon just happened to provide that as well as give him maneuverability, well, that was just a bonus. Meanwhile, Liliane was more dexterous. She believed, why block an attack when you could just avoid it altogether? And as you can imagine, this created quite the rivalry. And it continued from their childhood all the way up until young adulthood. Ignatius would always try and find things that he could tinker with. He loved to smith. He loved to work with his hands whenever he wasn't training with his father on how to hunt, on how to track, on how to maneuver, and basically just all that in general. Take care of his weaponry and the such. Meanwhile, Liliane, whenever she wasn't with her father trying to learn similar things, she preferred crafting, making potions, poultices, tonics and toxins. But whenever they reached their young adolescence, they realized that their rivalry was somewhat stupid. As I said, they kinda kept it up towards their young adulthood. But they realized their rivalry was kinda stupid. They loved each other, and not in that way. They were family, after all. They should work together, make up for each other's weaknesses, and they became a great hunting duo. Especially whenever they got introduced to newer weaponry that the guild themselves delivered a fresh supply of to Monga Village. However, there was also a letter from the guild themselves requesting that their old man, the expert hunter, go to Astera and be on the 5th Fleet. The old man looked at it and he rejected it. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a high honor. Why would he reject such a thing? because he was an old man. In his mind, he was a big fish in a small pond. And doing something like that was a young man's game. Like back when he came over to Monga Village in the first place. He knew his limitations. And he felt like he could be at rest. But that's when Ignatius saw the letter. The crumpled up and thrown away letter. And so he sent a counter report back. Now at this moment in time, Ignatius was just 17. And whenever he sent his retort back to the guild, they looked at it and, well, they didn't even realize that the great hunter of Monga Village even had children. Because I will say this, the guild is, well, the guild. They don't look too deeply into the lives and personal matters of their hunters as long as they do their jobs. And while the great hunter was a older man, he still got his job done every damn day. Now, what did this mean for Ignatius? Well, simple. Ignatius was sent a letter, and it stated, if you're willing to train for a couple of years, then we will gladly accept you in one of our academies. We will gladly accept you into the role of going to Astera. Said, all right. That doesn't sound too bad. I just have to approve it with father. His father was livid. He would believe that his children would watch over Monga Village, just like he did. He believed that trying to leave would put them too far away from him, which it would. He was a caring man. However, he was also a worried man. He was worried he'd never see his children again. Or in this case, his child. After a long and exhausting argument, and 3 days of no talking to each other, his father finally agreed to let him go under one condition: that he be trained with them for at least 10 weeks. If he could survive whatever training that his father put him through, then he would gladly let him go off on his own. Because no matter what training that they put him through would pale in comparison to the rigorous trials his father set before him. And so he trained. How did he train? Simple. Getting set off into the middle of the island with no weapons, no gear, no potions, no tonics. And he would have to spend 3 weeks out there surviving with the monsters, learning which ones to come, how close to come near them, how far away to stay, how far away their sense of smell was. If he could do that for 3 weeks, well, that would be completed the first portion, and it would show that he had good survival instincts. Next, because he obviously completed it, next was heavy combat training. His father rigorously trained him on how to use every single weapon he knew. 12 different weapon styles. And he pounded those lessons into him 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. for another 3 weeks. Later, he was trained on how to clear his mind, how to properly calm himself, how to think like a hunter, how to rely on his instincts and bring them forward. Because I will say this, if anyone here who's played Monster Hunter knows, fall damage ain't a thing. Not to mention the attacks we receive as hunters and all that. Nah, even with that armor on, we'd be dead. I guarantee you they use some sort of ability that's similar to the world of Ruby's aura, that hardens their defenses as well as increases their offense and strength. So, but they don't call it aura. They call it the way of the hunter. Or, yeah, I do believe that works. The way of the hunter has a nice ring to it. May change it later. Heck, if you guys got a good idea for what to call it, let me know. But for now, I think that works. And for the last and final week, he had to spend the entire time with his family. Talk with them, relax with them, and enjoy his time with them. Because it'd likely be the last time they ever saw one another. The father isn't stupid. He knows that, well, the fleet, as it's called, the fleets are rough. They aren't exactly generous or gentle. They're harsh. They're brutal. They're going to a place that's unknown, untracked, untraversed. At least when he came to Monga Village, everything was already known. There were plenty of maps. But Astera, there's virtually nothing known about it. And he knew his boy would likely not only go there, but he would likely die there. Just like he planned on dying in Monga Village. On the last day, his sister gave him a notebook. It was a notebook filled with all her alchemical knowledge. How to craft every different type of potion. How to craft every single type of remedy and poison. How to coat them on blades to throw into enemies. How to, well, enjoy, and how to, well, craft things that help you stay awake, increase your endurance, rebuff the heat and cold. He was never fond of that sort of thing, but he knew this meant a lot to her. He gave his sister Liliana one last hug. And then he hugged his father, who gave him his old hunting knife, a sharp kukri, and told him to use it well and to always have it. And so, he has. And he left. However, at this moment in time, the academy he was going to was really more of a boot camp, getting people ready for the long trip and expedition. And unlike what he thought he read, saying he'd be there for a couple of years, he was only going to be there for a couple of months. At most, he would be 18 when he left. He was shocked. And well, he came focusing in. He came across the Ace recruit, a member of a former high-ranking echelon of hunters, known as, well, the Ace Hunters. He was the youngest of their troop, but decided to part ways with them to go to, well, Astera. He also came across a very kind receptionist, or rather we should say field guide. Her name was Camilla. And yes, I know that the field guide doesn't have a name except for like the field guide, but for story's sake, I'm giving her a name. And there he was also given, well, the opportunity to make a friend of a lifetime. A palico. In case y'all don't know what a palico is, think around a 3.5-foot tall cat that stands on its back legs and can not only wear armor but beat things with weapons, as well as magic a bomb out of their inventory and throw it at people and monsters, as well as several other very nifty things. Yes, palicos are kind of scary whenever I think about it, but I try not to think about it. So, he comes across, well, a very big, scruffy and tough-looking palico. His voice was quite deep, his fur was pitch black with white outlining. And yet everyone seemed to avoid him. Everyone except Ignatius. Because Ignatius was he was no small fry. Standing in at 6'6", 237 pounds without armor, and with armor, reaching anywhere between 304 to, 462 pounds, depending on what type of kit and weaponry he was carrying. Yes, I would say that he is accustomed to getting the odd glance himself. So he walked up to this palico. "Hello, friend. And what is your name?"
Wow.
"Thor, is it?"
Wow.
"I see. Well, if you wouldn't mind, would you care to be a partner with me? At least for the time being."
Wow.
"You seem strong and capable. You may have a few indiscrepancies, but so do I. It's like we were meant to be partners. So what do you say?" as Ignatius sticks his hand out.
Wow.
As Thor sticks his hand out and shakes his hand. And in case you're wondering, yes, palicos all talk with a cat voice, but apparently everyone can understand them, and it's quite awkward. It's like, how do we know what they're saying? As I said, palicos are weird. In all honesty, I do think they're interdimensional beings that have the ability to psychically link with people. I have no clue, but that's just my opinion. Anywho, that got way off topic. Sorry, guys. So, After a couple of months' training, he mastered the other two weapons, the insect glaive and the charge blade. The only reason he didn't master those sooner, his father... Pardon me, that shouldn't be... Sorry about that. My deepest apologies. Now, back to what I was saying. His father didn't quite know about them. So, it was obvious that his father couldn't teach him how to master those two weapons. However, the boot camp and the ace cadet were able to show him the ropes of them quite easily. He adapted a few styles from other weapons into them as well to fully master them. In his own way, of course. Now, we're going to fast forward a couple of months. Ignatius has fully been taught how to work everything. He's been given his starting armor. Not this. This is later. As well as a brand new invention. A slinger that attaches to the main weapon arm. In his case, his left hand. Yes, Ignatius is left-handed. As was his father. Hands him, puts it on his main arm. The slinger, which you can kind of see on the person right there, is a multi-purpose tool for those of you who don't know Monster Hunter World. It's a grappling hook. It is a slingshot. And, well, that's kind of all it needs to be, but it has a few other functions as well. Ignatius was quite nervous until he wound up, well, you know, going through the same mission as for Monster Hunter World. If y'all don't know about that, either get the game or, well, I guess I can give you a brief summary. Honestly, the game does it better than I ever could, but I'll try my best. Giant living mountain covered in lava pops out from the middle of the ocean, capsizing the, well, ship, the Fifth Fleet ship. In turn, doing so causes everyone to panic. Ignatius and, well, Camilla wind up abandoned on this creature. They panic, run for their lives, well, use the slinger to grapple onto a little tiny, well, flying bird. And I say tiny, it's big enough to be able to carry them, but in comparison to what they're looking up at, yes. It winds up bringing them to Astera. They get dropped off in the middle of God knows where. They start wandering around. Giant iguana bastard called the Great Jagress decides, oh, free food, nom nom nom, and tries to eat them. And then as soon as they get somewhat close to civilization after being saved by another young guy, well, big bad mother effing peak T-Rex that can breathe fire comes out of nowhere, bites the Great Jagress's head and says, om nom 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 to you, and then proceeds to toss it and bump and smash it around until it's ready to eat. Just barely manages to escape, and that's when the story begins. Blah, 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 hunt monsters, blah, 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 kill monsters, blah, 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 make more armor out of said monsters, blah, blah, blah. Have to take care of Zora Magdaros, the living mountain rock thing. Blah, 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 get to the point where you're trying to capture it, blah, 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 Nergigante, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of blahs in this. I'm actually running out of breath. Failed to capture it, and when find out, oh, it's a living time. Zora Magdaros is about to die and is heading towards the Everstream, the lifeblood of the entire island, which is highly combustible. 'Cause of course. Main objective, drive it off. Yeah, you ain't trying to kill it, you're trying to make it turn its ass around before it dies. You finally manage on being able to do so, and, well, then you find out, oh, monsters are still acting weird for some reason. It's almost as if there's something else lying in wait, but that's for later, maybe. So, yes, this hunter is HR rank 14. In case you don't know, in the story-wise, he's not that high. In actual hunter eyes, he's actually pretty decent. Like if we're talking about from a perspective of a standard hunter that usually only gets up to about HR rank 5, HR rank 14, that's pretty good. Now, if we're talking about a player character controlled monster hunter, that's nothing. It's virtually nothing. But again, I can't give him everything because you've seen some of that freaking armor stats later on. Good God, he's lucky I'm giving him this. Mainly because I really like the way it looks. Anyways, after Zora Magdaro bites the dust, they were able to find enough equipment and gear to reward, well, the main participators of the hunt with a brand new set of armor, weaponry, and everything else, especially considering the main guy who did most of the work in tracking it out and figuring everything, Ignatius, the prime pieces of everything else of the Zora Magdaros armor, and gave him enough to make a set. Now, he keeps going around, and he's mainly enjoying what he does. He's loving the idea of, well, being on Astera. And he's about to go into, well, set up a base camp at the Elder's Recess. In case you don't know, giant crystal spire-like place that has, well, a lot of hanging crystals and everything else around there. It's where some elder dragons like to be, well, go. During his area there, he's mainly going to set up a base camp. Upon attempting to do so, a Nergigante shows up at the base camp site. Because this isn't the game. This is their reality. And they haven't had a chance to set up any sort of monster repellent there. The Nergigante shows up. And well, in a way of self-sacrifice, Ignatius gets in front of the attack he launches. He fires a dung pod at the Nergigante, sending it to go off and fly away. But he's taken some serious hits. Camilla tries to get over closer whenever he notices the supplies are about to, well, fall off the edge of the side. Fall off a, well, side. He decides to try and save the supplies considering, well, they're expensive. The supplies are needed. Because if they can't set up a base camp, no other hunters can go there. So he gets up and runs over to the supplies to try and hold them down. He doesn't. The way of the supplies, due to his injuries, he gets pulled along. And he, well, falls. He falls far, and he falls quick. He's too weak to activate his instinct or his hunter's abilities to keep himself from taking fall damage. He's too injured to try and drink a potion on the way down. He's too hurt all he can do is watch and see Camilla and Thor look at him as he falls. At this point he says, "By the sapphire star, please guide them. And if this is how I meant to die, so be it." When all of a sudden he feels a bright warmth envelop him. As he opens his eyes, he sees a greenish-like portal underneath him. He falls through it, and he quickly, lands. He figures, oh, this is where it ends. But the portal kind of acted as a slowdown, a brief respite in mid-air, if you will. Think of it essentially like a cushion. So instead of falling with the full force, he just, fell lightly, you could say. And that's when he notices the supplies are still coming down upon him. He's able to shove himself out the way just barely, because, the portal cushions them as well. Oh, damn it. That hurts. As he gathers himself up and quickly takes a pop of a mega potion. Oh, by the sapphire star. Oh, where am I? As he looks around and sees decimation. No, that's incorrect. Devastation. And not that type of devastation, Izuku. But no, Izuku. Oh. The devastation of what appears to be an ancient city. Strange looking buildings he's never seen before. Each floor of them contains several fine glass, windows. All dirty and dusted with age, but he's seen ruins of cities before and castles, but they never had anything like this. And it spans for miles. But then he hears some roars, and then footsteps. He quickly rushes over to his trunk and pulls out the Axleon Charge Blade. Oh yes, he pulls this out. He doesn't know what's coming, but it will burn. As he sees these creatures he's never seen before, these strange black, wolvish-like creatures with these strange black, in the way he would see it, fanged wyverns with skeletal, with bone-like plating on their faces and glowing red eyes and deep black fur, almost the same color as the night. He does not care. They are a threat, and he will survive it. As he charges forward and, starts hacking them apart, quickly slamming his blade into one, flipping the shield around and using the trigger to release let it lunge forward slightly and stab into another. As the blade builds up its charge, he jams it into his shield, which acts as its sheath. Yes, the shield acts as a sheath. You'll find out why in a moment. As he pulls the lever, causing both of them to merge into the giant charge blade axe, as he swings it around, causing flaming explosions to appear on, all the monsters that he hits with it. As we would know them, or any viewers of RWBY would know them, he is killing a bunch of Beowulfs. As he thinks, he's just killing a bunch of small, fanged wyverns. He's about to go hard as he destroys most of them. The rest run away and retreat. Bastards. As he pulls back his blade and allows the shield to rotate forward back into its closed position, as he hangs up the Axleon charge blade on his back. He pulls out his Kakuri survival knife and is about to, well, harvest something from the Beowulf. But as soon as he attempts to try and pierce it, it turns to dust. Turns to ash before his eyes. Same with the others. What? What by the sapphire star is this? No matter. I need to set up repellent and the camp. I'm too exposed. As he quickly, gathers up as much gear as he can carry, including his trunk. Yes, his personalized trunk that carries all his weapons and armor inside. Because that's not his only set, that's just his primary set. The Zora Magdaros Beta armor. Why? Because it looks badass, damn it, that's why. I like it, don't judge. As he, finds a somewhat secure location and begins to set up the monster wardings, as well as prepare himself a meal. Whenever he awakens, he hears something loud, thunderous, something he's never heard before. As he, pardon me for one moment, he equips his light bow gun as well as several, different types of ammunition. And begins to, wander. Now, why would he equip the light bow gun, you may ask? Well, simple. He doesn't know what he's going to face, but the light bow gun has a relatively good range, in his opinion, and is, if it's nothing dangerous, can be very useful. And if it is something dangerous, it can at least knock it away before drive it off, before it's can do any real damage to him. At least provide him enough time to prepare another weapon or fall back into a better position. Plus it's got a built-in scope on it, so always useful. So he wanders forward. And he sees a large train, what we would know as a train. He sees this large, structure. As it runs past on these tracks, he knows it's not organic, but he also knows that he's never seen anything like it before. He's more curious about it than anything. As farther off, he sees what appear to be two humans. A small woman, around 5.5 feet tall, or rather 5 foot 3 inches tall, long black hair, black dress, with a strange weapon on her back, and a man with dark red hair, a cool-looking mask that Ignatius thinks would make a much better-looking belt buckle than anything, and a very small longsword. Because by Monster Hunter definitions, a longsword isn't a longsword until it's 10 foot long. Oh yeah, They don't carry around the tiny swords. No, 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 no. Even their nimble weapons are usually big and badass. Unless you're talking about the dual blades, then they're more terrifying with how quick they will be. More on that later. And then he sees them hop onto this structure. He notices it's about to end, and he says, the only chance I got to figure out what the hell's going on. And so he launches his slinger, as a grappling hook in this case, to latch onto the train. A successful hit, and he gets pulled along. He's able to crawl himself forward and get onto the train. He runs forward at as much speed as he can muster, which is a pretty good amount. And then he hears it. The sounds of fighting. He looks down and sees these two people fighting these strange automatons. He knows they're not breathing because they make no sound as they are crushed and killed, except for sparks. People, if they were done that to, would scream and shout. Those are his only two leads. He can't let them die. And when he notices one's about to attack and hurt the black-haired girl, he jumps down, yelling, just yelling, "Roar!" as he plants his kakuri straight into the thing's skull, and then kicks it off. Now we're going to go towards the people's point of view. As we would know them, or people who've watched RWBY would know them, Blake and Adam. Blake and Adam get onto the train to, rob the Schnee Dust Company and interrupt its, line of traffic. When all of a sudden, when Blake is about to be hit by a, automaton, a robot, a strange man in very weird-looking armor jumps from the ceiling, yelling like a barbaric bastard, and stabbing the thing through the head with what appears to be a knife, and then proceeds to rip out the knife from the skull after kicking the automaton into three others, and then proceeds to, go fist to fist with the other automatons. Back to Ignatius's point of view. He pulls his blade out of the automaton's head, but it felt slightly stuck. So he saw the opportunity to shove it off, to pull the blade out and take out another one by thrusting the dead opponent onto it. He then pulled the knife out with ease as he used the force of his kick to, pull it out. He saw that others were getting to stand and he charged them. And, did his signature as he hacked and slashed and cut through the soft circuits and such. Well, at least soft by his opinion. Monster Hunter strength. It's scatty. After the automatons are dealt with, Adam quickly draws his blade towards a strange person. And that's whenever Ignatius just goes and puts away his knife, saying, "Is that how you treat the guy who just saved your ass? Put that toothpick down. I'm here to talk. What do you want to talk about, Hunter? Simple. Where the hell are we? I have no time for your games, Hunter. Either get out of my way or die." My friendly fellow, isn't he, as he looks at Blake. "Listen, I don't mean you any harm, nor do I mean to trespass on your hunt. So I do apologize, but I have no idea where the hell I am. Can you please point me to the direction of the nearest town?" And so he doesn't. Adam just flat out ignores him and says, "We have things to do. Come on, Blake." And, they run. And then Ignatius gets irritated and starts, running after them. And that's whenever, the spider robot pops up. Or at least that's what I call that thing. It had 8 legs, it fired a bunch of missiles, and it was big. Basically, giant mech robot with several legs. Spider robot. Ignatius hears this thing beginning to move and rumble as he turns around and sees, by the sapphire star, that thing's as big as an Anjanath but has 8 legs. I wonder what I can make out of it. As he quickly brings out his light bow gun and starts, well, pat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, laying into it with shredder ammo and anything else he's got, trying to figure out what this thing is weak against. Turns out, not much. As he's just laying down, essentially covering fire for, well, Adam and Blake. As he basically tells him, alright, I got this thing covered, you guys can run if y'all want to, or, help! As, well, Adam says, stop what you're doing there, you crazy idiot. I'll handle it. Ignatius immediately just going, okay, but if you die, I'm turning your mask into my belt buckle. As well, Adam charges in, kills the creature, well, the robot. Ignatius just goes, impressive. Maybe I should fight him with my longsword at some point. See how we compare. And that's when he notices, well, Blake on the other side on the other car. She tells Adam, I can't do this with you any longer. We're done. And she disconnects the cart. Meanwhile, Ignatius kind of looks at Adam, then at Blake, then at Adam, then at Blake. He notices the distance spreading apart. He says, not without me you don't, and fires his slinger into the other cart, and proceeds to go on over there. Says, Blake immediately asks upon him getting there, why did you do that? Well, to be honest, you seem a lot nicer than him, because at least you didn't threaten me. Now, can you please tell me what the hell is going on? I swear. You know what, better yet, I have a camp that's not, well, relatively not far from here. We could probably set up there and figure out what's going on. So please. And so, Blake, well, at least knowing that that she kinda owes this guy her life, basically says sure. They go to his campsite. He makes her a well-done steak, which is basically monster beef on a bone. That's all it is. It's really just monster meat with a bone in. Bone straight through with a bunch of monster meat around it. It's pretty cool. She kind of bites into it gingerly while he goes, ah. You gonna finish that? You're like, yes? Okay. So, where the hell are we? Well, we're really close to Vale. Vale? What's Vale? It's a big city? Never heard of it. You've never heard of Vale? No. Have you ever heard of Remnant? What the hell is Remnant? It happens to be the place you're standing on, you moron. Hey, that's not nice. You're trying to tell me that you don't know anything about the world you're currently living in. Well, to be fair, I was fighting with a Nergigante up on top of a, well, giant cliff earlier, and then I got knocked down off of it, and a green portal opened up underneath my feet, and I came through it and wound myself up here. So I have really no clue where the hell I am, nor do I know what the hell's going on. Wait, are you telling me you're from another world? That would explain a lot. How come I didn't think of that? Wow. Well, the nearest city's over that way, so as she points in the general direction of Vale, which you can kind of see the outline up in the night sky. He goes, huh? Well, that's nice. Well, I don't have a lot of money. What do y'all use for it? As she brings out a few, well, linny, as they call it there, he goes, Zinny! Oh, thank goodness, my wallet still works here. No, we call that, this is linny. Linny? Yes, linny. He takes a look at it and goes, but it looks exactly like Zinny from home. He examines it close and it's an exact match. Why? Because I don't feel like making this poor bastard broke after taking away everything else from him. Come on. Yes, he's got a bunch of weapons and armor, but cut the guy some slack. Okay, guys? Come on. Be nice to poor Ignatius. I know I am. Well, that's convenient. Yeah, very weird. Well, I doubt we'll ever see each other again, but here's hoping you get back to where you come from. Thanks for everything. Ignatius? Oh, please, call me Igni. As he looks up and she's gone. I gotta figure out how she does that. Like, she didn't even use a smoke bomb or anything. Holy crap. My sister would be so jealous. And so, he makes his way down there. Big Ignatius makes his way down to Vale. And by the next morning he arrives with his trunk over his shoulder. And it's a pretty big trunk. Not massive, but pretty big. Looks heavy, is heavy. Not many people can carry it. As he just kind of pulls it along over his shoulder. He doesn't have any sort of weapon on his side right now. He's just entering the city trying to appear calm and peaceful like, even though, well, he's decked out in badass armor. And he comes across a strange shop. Well, a shop with a strange name. Called From Dusk Till Dawn. And he goes, that could be a good place to pick up supplies, I guess. It says it's they say it's an all-around general shop, so should work. And that's where I'll leave it off here, guys. Hope you enjoyed your time, and please do let me know what you think. And thank you. Bye.